Okay, we've got sound now. Yes, we've got sound. Thank you, Wolfie, for that. I do not know what that was, but I just unplugged the USB interface for the mic, plugged it back in, and it works. So, to those of you that was watching me talking without speaking, welcome to the studio. I'm Zaraganat, and what I was started by telling you about was if you caught the real start of the stream when I first turned it on, you may have been seeing lots of drop frames and things like that. That was because I was attempting to do a big upload at the same time. And for some reason it won't do it. Protocols should be that the real-time video stream should take priority over the less real-time file upload. It wasn't working like that. The upload was getting priority and the stream was bouncing all over the place, so I had to cancel it, which means about 15 minutes of writing all the descriptions had just been lost, and I'll have to do it all again. But never mind. Where would you be without me? I would be streaming without audio. Alright. I am going to have to in the future test the audio on that before I start streaming. Am I recording this as well? Yeah, I'm recording it. That's okay. Thank you for letting me know, Wolfie. That's I'm grateful for you doing that. Change glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Oh dear, today seems to have been a bit of an odd day. I'm feeling kind of not sure what this evening, so I have no idea whether things are going to go right or wrong tonight. Obviously they started off by going wrong, so maybe that's an indication of how things are going to go for the rest of the evening. Oh, I do not like the feeling of being sure you've got enough money. I am kind of in that situation at the moment. Kind of. I know the money I've got is going to run out, it's a question of when. But hopefully things will resolve themselves before that happens. Yeah, I know, but I gathered you were talking about the game, but I'm talking about real life. Because I am kind of in that situation at the moment where money is challenging. We'll manage, but there we go. And this wants to be darker around here. lots of things happening money wise, all kind of at the wrong time, and money becomes challenging for a while. But hopefully it won't be as bad for you in the game, Wolfie. The chickens eat more than the eggs they give. Well, sell your chickens then. I guess is one solution. Okay. Well, I go back to work tomorrow for a rest, to be honest. This week has been quite a hard week in terms of physical work. I'm an old man. There was times when I could have done what I've done this week all week without bothering about it, but I'm getting older. So, for people that are watching, if you have no idea what pyrography is, it's sometimes known as wood burning. It's a description that I don't personally like, because as you can see, there's no flames. I'm not burning anything. The process is very similar to cooking or toasting. So I'm going to annoy Wolfie. I call this cooking with wood, and he usually promptly mentions something about pans and things. But this is very. If you've ever made toast, what I'm doing here is very similar to making toast. I'm applying heat, and it's going brown, just like toast does. Which is why I describe it as cooking with wood. But pyrography literally means fire writing, but the fire in that particular case really refers to heat, writing with heat, because even in older times when fire really was used, it was used to heat an implement, so a piece of metal or something like that, with which it was applied to generally to wood or leather, in order to change its colour and do whatever they want it to do on that particular material, whether it was writing or whether it was an image of some kind. You keep dying and losing 2.5k every time. Well, that's the different strategies in the game, Wolfie. So this is a commissioned portrait. It says in the title, it's David Cassidy. This was commissioned a while ago. It's actually been commissioned for delivery before Christmas, and I have just started it a few days ago. Actually before he passed away, so this is actually nothing to do with that. It's something that has been on the books for a little while, but I needed, obviously with it being wanted for Christmas, I need to get on and complete it. So I think we've been doing this on 3 streams now, so this is a 4th stream. Kind of hope I'll finish it in this one. If I don't, then I'm going a bit over time, but that's okay. Yeah, shading's not doing too bad. It's a bit light. It's certainly light on the centre of the face, but we'll come back to that. What I need to do is get most of the dark shading in now. What I've done initially is apply an amount of very light shading all over the face and around the shaded areas here, and now what I'm going is going back over them and bringing them down to what I want to be as the final darkness level, and then I can finalize the shading across the whole of the face. Now the danger I've got here is that I could end up applying too much heat and some particular place going too dark for what I want, and then it becomes an issue that I've got to deal with. And because there's no undo, there's no erase with pyrography. You just have to work with what you end up getting, which is part of the fun and part of the challenge. Now just along the hairline here, it's quite dark. Now it's quite this particular image is quite an awkward one to work with in pyrography, because the main lighting is virtually full on towards the face, straight on, and that takes away a lot of the shadows that you'd normally see, which help distinguish the features, and which, you know, when you put those shadows in pyrography, it makes the face a lot more recognizable, a lot easier to see the shapes. At the moment the face will look rather flat, and indeed the eyes probably look like he's got his eyebrows really raised in surprise. Last time you had about their 24-hour policies right. Twitch screwed themselves over that one. Legal aim is now refuse to stream on here and get. Okay, yeah. Okay, Wolfie. It's only likely to change if the big broadcasters start raising raising it as an issue, and doing things like that. Refuse to stream. Okay, Painter, tell me once, maybe tell me twice, but don't tell me every 20 minutes. Thank you. It kind of, from a Twitch perspective, though, it makes kind of makes sense, because what they want is people who want to see it live to come to Twitch, and basically they can, the VODs, they want them to watch the recordings here on Twitch as well, rather than see it on another platform. Because of course that's how they get people to watch their adverts. Because if they watch the recording elsewhere, then Twitch don't get the people seeing the adverts. I guess they assume that most people who will watch a recording do so within the first 24 hours. And then after that, it's they're less bothered. And of course, on the other streaming sites, they're not bothered as much, because they don't have as large a market share. And they can afford not to include things like that in their own contracts. Because I'm reasonably sure on places like Mixer, there isn't an exclusive contract in that way. You can broadcast there and elsewhere at the same time. Yeah, but true, but I mean 10k isn't actually a great deal. I mean, yes, 10k is 10k, but when you look at some of the big broadcasts that are on here on a daily basis, some of the big channels that are pulling in 5,000-6,000 viewers at a time, 10k isn't actually that much. I mean, I'm thinking some of the big tournaments that just recently have been upwards of 60,000-70,000 viewers. So now I'm just moving across the forehead here, applying a bit more of a subtle colouring. I really want to don't want too hard an edge on the shadow that you see. So I want you to be able to see the edge of the shadow, but it's more subtle an edge. And of course, your forehead's curved, so there's still sort of a shadowish sort of effect. Yeah, I suppose the correct description isn't so much a shadow; it's not as well lit because the light's bouncing off at an angle. The problem Twitch have is they have to enforce their contract. Otherwise, the contract it becomes pointless, null and void. If they let it in quotes slide for one broadcaster, then they've got it's very hard for them to defend not letting it slide for another broadcaster, at which point the terms and conditions become pointless. Of course, they may well have, with a big contractor with a big broadcaster like that, they don't have to have the same terms and conditions as they have for everybody else. You know? There's nothing that says they have to have the same contract with everybody. I mean, I suspect for the majority of partners and the majority of associates, the contract will be the same, but it doesn't have to be. So, I mean, League of Legends, they could quite easily negotiate a different contract if they're big enough to bring in the number of views. Whether they're number one or not, I don't know. But it is a decision that they would have or will have considered really carefully, Wolfie. You know, they won't walk into it without thought. But if they've let them walk away, then they have deemed it better for Twitch to do that. I mean, one thing you have to be kind of careful of in business is that there are times when you do let customers walk away. You know, you don't you don't give in to them because you can't give in to them because of whatever because of the precedents it might set and things like that. So yeah, but you know, 137,000. I mean, your next one there, what you're showing, what is 91,000, then 76,000. You know, it's then, you know, Counter-Strike. They're not that much bigger than Counter-Strike. So, you know, I'm looking what 70, 56, 55. So, you know, they're not 10 times your nearest other broadcaster. I mean, they're 30% more than Counter-Strike. They're only twice as big as Battlegrounds and Battle Royale, Fortnite there. So, you know. Okay. For what? 20,000? You see, what the other thing you've got to take into consideration is, if they don't broadcast there, Wolfie, will all those viewers watch them somewhere else, or will they stay on Twitch and watch something different? You know, and that's you'd go somewhere. Yeah, some people will, some people won't. You know, I've seen it. You've seen the sort of thing before on. Okay, not as big number of viewers, but on some, on some of the forums and things where people have been going. Well, if you move to Mixer, for example, I just won't bother watching it. I watch Twitch, and that's it. You know, and they will do that. Yeah, yeah. But it's a decision that Twitch will look at, and they will look at, you know, other games and things that have done, or broadcasters that have done the same thing. They'll look at the number of users that stayed on Twitch, viewers and things like that. They'll look at all those sorts of things, or I'm assuming that they'll look at all these sorts of things, and base a decision on that. You know, yes, they know some people will go, but there again, you know, they that's just the one game. Of course, you're still on. You know, even if they go, you're still on Twitch watching something else. Maybe not at the same time. I accept that, but you're still on Twitch. And yes, they don't necessarily get as many advert roles, but again, you know, it's all money, it's all economics. It's yeah, it's never as simple as it sounds, Wolfie. It's never as simple as it sounds. See, the other thing that might be going is things like YouTube broadcasting isn't as developed, shall we say, as Twitch is. So some of the monetization, for example, on YouTube is based purely on the adverts that are played. There is no ability. Well, there is some ability now for subscriptions with YouTube Red. You don't have the bits as easily. You know, some of these other things. Some of the chat isn't supposed to be as good in the way it's handled as it is on Twitch. So, you know, Twitch will also be going, hopefully, you know, they're not going to like it there. And that's likewise, you spelt couple wrong. I don't think Super Speedy is doing too bad, given that his natural language is Dutch, not English. Now then, let's just adjust this a little bit because it's much too bright, making it stand out too much, stand forward too much. With black and white or monochrome, white is a foreground colour, black is a background colour usually. There are times when that reverses, but so something which is white will look closer to you. This, for example, was really white and it looked to be much further forward on the face, which made it look odd. As I just darken it down slightly, it slides backwards in the image, and it starts to look more like you expect an eye to look in the face. And sometimes you've got to cheat, even though it's not part of the image itself. Sometimes you actually have to do what's not actually there in order to make it look more natural. Sometimes assuming is the number of people that forget that Twitch is broadcast in a lot of countries, and a lot of people are not only potentially have dyslexia, but also it's not a natural language, so they don't necessarily know the right way to spell something. I mean, even between America and English, and England, we spell certain things differently and mean different things by the same thing. So, okay, you know, I mean, it's a discussion. I mean, there's not a lot you can do about it. Wolfie, ultimately, you know, they've made the choice. And we'll see what happens. That's if he ever broadcasts again, but it's about now, as likewise, that you kind of you're probably starting to wish you hadn't made the comment. Really hard. The lighting on this is basically from the light is where the camera is. So if you imagine this is a person's face and the light's exactly where you're looking at it from, it virtually lights the whole face very evenly with almost no shadows at all. And in pyrographic terms, the very slight lighting differences are so subtle that it can be quite difficult to do full face lit like this. A side lit face is significantly easier to do. Not sure I understand that one, Super Speedy. Just the last, I can't, that little... Usually I can, if I just sound out what you said, when occasionally. I can't get the end of the sentence. I mean, just dyslexia helps giving your writing that little. That kind of makes sense. It's that I can't quite follow the last two words. But what? That little. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen you use it before, and I understood it in other contexts. It just didn't actually. Wait, what? Yeah, as I mentioned, if I actually sound out what you've said, usually I can follow it. I can certainly say, however, your English is better than my Dutch. That's for sure. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, it's you're doing the. Wait, what? Yeah. Now I follow. I follow. Let's. Cool that tip off. Now we do have a highlight. Just around there. But not around here. So let's lose that. That's there. Moving the tool about quite a lot and quickly here just to keep the amount of heat I'm applying quite low. Yeah. Oh, I don't bother. It doesn't. I mean, I don't know. There's a texting English. Texting and English are not necessarily the same thing, even when it's supposedly English. I can't read half the text messages. Word shortening and using numbers because they sound like words, and I mean, it's the odd thing about your phones when you're texting is they have predictive text these days, so it takes effort not to use shortened words and things like this, because the spell checker doesn't like it and it generally substitutes different words. So it takes more effort to not use the right words when you're texting than it does to use them. And I don't understand. Yeah. Yeah, no, I follow a lot of them. It's I mentioned in my licensed radio amateur, when you're doing Morse code, you quite often will do a lot of abbreviations. Not only is the codes used, but you often will do a lot of abbreviations just because it's quicker to send. So I kind of understand them, and things like that, but it's an interesting thing. Now then, do I want this lighter or darker? What we've got is we cool the tip down. When I've not had this pen on the wood for a while, the tip heats up, and if I just put it down on the wood, what will happen is I'll get a dark mark. So you'll see me blowing on the tip, and that's purely just to cool it off, so that when I put it down it doesn't immediately create that dark mark. Yeah, that's when you spend all your money, isn't it? At that point. Oh, bother. See, that's what happens. That's gone darker than I wanted it to go. So what I've got to do now is I've got to hide that. See, there's no undo with pyrography, as those people who watch me regularly will know. You're kind of stuck with whatever you get. So I've got that dark mark there. I have to live with that and deal with it in some way. And that's a bit too... let's fade that out a bit more. Just lose the bottom edge. Okay, snacks. Yeah, you're starting to make me feel hungry again. Right. What I ought to do actually is have a bit of dark wood like this just to one side, or a bit of wood, then I can just touch that too and cool the tip off, and I'd probably do a lot better. That tip wants cleaning. Okay, so now let's come down under the mouth. Yes, it looks like the light is slightly offset. That looks a little bit out of shape, so what I'm going to do is just change this shading around here just to darken this edge, because at the moment it's making the face shape look a little bit odd. So we'll just throw it backwards a little bit. Worth making him look like he wants a bit of a shave, but that's okay. What I need to do now is lose the extreme white that you're perhaps seeing around here, around his chin. So essentially just knocking the white off at the moment. Trying to be really careful that I don't get that same dark blob that I got higher up, which I didn't want. Somehow I don't think they kind of said that, but okay. Yeah, sometimes it can be, Wolfie. With this style of pyrography, one of the things you must never do is let the tools stay still on the piece of work. It's almost always a bad thing. Some of the other styles of pyrography, you know, it may be more appropriate, but certainly for this style, having the tool still on the wood is literally the last thing that you want. It causes you so many problems. Which is why whenever I reach out, the one thing I always do is make sure I've got the pen nowhere near the wood. That's a bit better. I might have to do some more work on the eyes. Yeah, okay, you're gonna look. No problem, Wolfie. Okay, so let's do the shadow just under the chin, and then we can basically just colour in the rest of the neck. Oh dear. Ah, well, you see, if you will try to dominate the world. I mean, after all, remember James Bond and all those people who tried to do world domination. You kind of beat them all in the end. Okay, so now let's just colour the rest of the neck in here. Really sort of thing, it's a large enough area that what I should really do is get out a larger shader, but to be honest I can't be bothered. It's on the borderline between a large area and a where it is worth getting the tool out, and this. It's sort of it's a little bit big for this tool, and it's a little bit small for the larger shader. So and you're given that I'm wanting quite a light tone. Sometimes it's harder to get with the larger shaders, just because they, with any tool like this, the spread of heat across the tool, the sole of the tool, isn't actually all that even. It really depends on just how much they squeeze the wire. These tips are made from wire, which are then sort of flatten that wire out. They squeeze the wire, or press it, I guess, hammer it. I'm not quite sure exactly how they get the end. I'm guessing they do it in some form of press. But if that's not 100% even, then this works by passing an electric current through the wire, and it heats up according to the amount of resistance. And if they squash the wire slightly more in some places than others, then the resistance is different to elsewhere, and it might heat up less or it might heat up more because of the slight variations in how much it's been squashed. And of course, a bigger shader has more squashed wire. Slowing down so that I get a darker colour. And that means I can do some of this in one pass rather than needing 2 or 3. There we go, starting to work. Right. What we could do with doing is a little bit more detail on this side of the neck here. And by detail, it doesn't have to be a lot of detail, it can just be a few marks. Like there, as you sort of just catch a little bit of what would be the collarbone, I guess. We'll turn this down a bit, it looks a little bit bright to me. What we look like there. Let's have a look at what that looks like on the broadcast. Go full screen, let's have a look. So I'm looking at my own output here. The camera's picking up a lot more markings than I've got, but the eyes aren't quite right. But there again, the camera isn't actually adjusting very well to some of the contrast levels. It's been quite low conservative, so the eyes, for example, in real life I can clearly see the difference between the pupils and the irises. On the output there they just look black. It's compressing the contrast quite a bit, which means that you're seeing sort of a lot of blobs around which actually are not as prevalent as they look. But I think that'll do. I do. I think that's finished. Now what I will probably do is not look at it for a couple of days, and then take another look, just to see what, with a fresh pair of eyes, so to speak, because quite often when you look at something like this, because I've been looking at it for an awfully long time now, and I'm just looking for something to stand behind it, just to stand it up a bit. When you've been looking at something like this for several days, quite close up, and it's right in your face, then what happens is you get blind to some of the mistakes or some of the inconsistencies in the image. Then if you go away for a couple of days, come back to it, then it looks different. You can see things that you couldn't see before, and things will jump out at you that you didn't see before. So whenever I do something like this, whilst I call it done now, in a couple of days I may come back and do some more shading or change some things, just because with that fresh look, the image isn't as good as I thought it was. So nothing really prepared to start now, so I think what we'll probably do is finish the stream early tonight. Don't really want to get the magic dots out, which would be the only thing that is to hand to be able to do just at this instant. So yeah, I think we'll finish the stream early tonight. There will be no stream tomorrow night. I'm not going to be here, so I'm not going to be able to stream. So the next stream will be on Tuesday evening. It will start hopefully between 7 PM and 8 PM UK time, that's GMT. And before I go, I'll just tell you about a couple of things. The blue box down here at the bottom, which has got all the URLs in it, most of which you will recognise where they're from. The two social media ones, of course. Twitter's a good one if you follow me. I will tweet if I'm going live, or I'm not going live, or there's some problem, or I'm doing some new art form, or I've got some new material. These sorts of things. The tweets are almost all to do with the stream itself. So a good one if you want to keep up on the stream. YouTube, gradually uploading the old archive of Twitch, so if you want to see any of the older streams, then YouTube's a good one. Not every stream is there. Some recordings have been lost, especially a batch at the start of this year. When I started streaming again this year, because I didn't realise that the automatic recording had been switched off on OBS, so I didn't realise I wasn't recording them, and they're now gone, unfortunately. But most of the others are there and they've gradually been uploaded. I've now started on 2017 and actually up to about August, and I'll be uploading some more, so there's only about another 60 odd videos to upload and I'll be up to date. Well, as up to date as I'm allowed to be. 24 hours behind will be the closest I ever get. The other thing that I'll mention down there is Etsy, zaragonart.etsy.com. It's principally a jewellery shop at the moment, and probably as I get nearer to Christmas and I've got more time, I will start to do things like put some of the pyrography items like this onto the site for sale. So, and possibly some of the engravings as well that I've been doing. Glass engravings, that is. Although I could engrave on metal. I'll maybe try that one of these days. But some of these, all these sorts of things which have been done on stream. So this is an upcycled coffee jar, which is now a TARDIS or a police box. Whether it will travel through time and space, I couldn't tell you. I suppose it has just travelled through space, and I did it a while ago and it's here now, so it's travelled through time. So it is indeed travelling through time and space. So take a look at the shop if you're interested in specifically any of the jewellery. I will probably tweet, follow me on Twitter, when some of the new items go on there, like the pyrography or the engraving, glass engraving. Will be some issues, though. I mean, glass obviously is quite hard to ship. Has to be well packed, so unfortunately that makes shipping expensive. And the pyrography, for example, I can't export to America, I don't think, and a few other countries. They don't like wood products because they're afraid of importing wood diseases. Could make sense, I guess. So some of those things may not be available in other countries. But the other thing I'm going to mention is the three buttons, as I've had pointed out to me at the top there. The far right hand one, which is the if you would like to donate any bits to the stream. The middle one is if you would care to consider subscribing to the stream. That would be absolutely fantastic. You don't have to, but if you would like to, that would be gratefully received. The subscriptions go towards buying the materials and the tools and things which are used whilst I'm streaming. Unfortunately, even things like wood, good quality wood isn't cheap. As I have been known to say, good quality wood doesn't grow on trees. It is trees, but it doesn't grow on them. I know it's a silly thing, but it amuses me. Yeah, good quality wood, and it's not particularly easy to find either. And the left of the top three buttons at the top right there, of course, is the follow me button. If you'd like to be notified when I go live, see me on that front follow page that you're following, be on there if I'm live, then pushing that button will achieve that for you. And if you have it enabled, Twitch will also notify you when I go live. And with that, thank you all for watching. Hope to see you on the next stream, which is on Tuesday, not tomorrow. Bye for now.